So earlier we had to create that damageable script in order to set up our weapons properly and have them not throw errors at us because the damageable script was important, but we wanted to do the guns first. Well, now we're going to go back and do the damageable script. So we're going to go to our created scripts folder, and we're going to find that damageable script and open it up. And so what we need to do is add just a couple of lines in here, nothing too crazy. But what we want to do is delete our update and start methods. We want to have an empty class here. We want to say public int health and add our semicolon. And we're going to say public virtual void take damage, which you might remember that was the method that we commented out calling in our weapon script. We're going to add a public virtual void add health. Oops. Add health. There we go. Int amount. Add our brackets there. And lastly, a protected virtual void on death. And that is because anything that is damageable can die. We're going to say destroy game object with a lowercase g for on death. For add health, we want to say health plus equals to amount, semicolon. Perfect. And then in take damage, we want to say if health is greater than 0, health minus equals to damage, and if health is now less than or equal to 0, we want to call that on death. So yeah, we're going to check if our health is greater than 0, and after we subtract our damage from it, if that makes our health less than 0, then we want that to kill the damageable object. We can now very quickly, either through opening the scripts up in our project panel, or if you still have them open in your Visual Studio, you can look at the top and select them. And all we're going to do now is just go back and uncomment those codes. So that is to just delete those 2 slash marks from the front of each of those. And now, because we have our take damage method in our damageable script, that is a valid line of code that will not cause any errors in our game. Now, what we also need to do is go back to our player controller, and we're actually going to remove the mono behavior part of our player controller and replace that with damageable, because our player is, in fact, damageable. What we also need to do is add inside of our start method a line that says health text equals health.toString. So that's going to set our health text UI object that we added earlier. It's going to set that to show our proper health. What we also need to do is scroll down to the bottom underneath our try jump thing if we did that bonus step, or underneath process input if not. We're going to add some space and say public override void add health. So that's that add health script we just added to damage, or add health method we just added to damageable. And what we're going to say is health text equals health.toString, because we want to update our UI to reflect that we've gained health. And we're also going to say public override void take damage. So that is if we take damage. And remember, when we do these overrides, we want to make sure we have our base dot whatever it happens to be, in this case dot take damage. We want to make sure we have that. And then we're going to say oh wait, actually for our player script we don't want that. We're actually going to delete the base.take damage. Sorry, I made that point on the one thing we didn't want to include it in, but that's okay. We do need it for our add health function, but for take damage we do not. We're going to say health minus equals to damage. Oops. And then we're going to say health text, just like we've done before. We're going to say health text.text is equal to health.toString. And then underneath that, we're going to say if health is less than or equal to 0, we want to set our time.timescale equal to 0. And then we want to say that game over game object that we have not set up yet, we want to set that equal to true. Now, in a similar vein to what we did with our weapons, we want to comment this line out. Because again, we are going to turn on a game over game object later on, but we don't have that game over game object set up yet, so we don't want to cause any errors by having this line uncommented here. So we add the comment now, and then later when we create our game over game object, we'll remove that. So we can go ahead and save our player controller script, make sure our damageable scripts are saved as well as all of our weapons, and we can head back. This isn't going to actually have any visible effect on our weapons, but we can test our UI for our player's health and we can double check that we've got all of our stuff set up here. You'll notice it actually has our health set to 0 by default, and we obviously want it to be more than that. We want it to be 100, so let's set the health variable to 100. We've got our health text UI object assigned here, and we're just missing that game over that we'll set up, I believe, in week 4. So now that we've got all that ready to go, we can go ahead and hit play. And we should see that red HP text now says 100. And you'll notice I actually have the wrong health text object in there. We have health text and not health number. So we're going to correct that really quickly. We're going to go to player, and where it says health text, we're going to replace that with health number. It's a very easy mistake to make. You know, this stuff's all have very similar names. And now we see it says HP 100. And that reflects our health very well. And of course, we can still switch through all of our weapons, and everything is updating. So that means our damageable script has been set up properly, and we are now either ready to move into week 3 or do those bonus steps and make that really cool grenade launcher.